grab a seat because it's time for the Oh Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, CW. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to hit that bell on YouTube and subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcasting app. What's up, everybody? I have been struggling to come up with an idea for today's episode. It is currently 6:30 in the morning on the day this goes out. And you know what? I said, forget it. Let's just talk about Raw. It was an important Raw, I think. It was the Elimination Go Home show for the Raw cast of characters. And they kicked off the episode pretty heavy with Cody Rhodes versus Drew McIntyre. Now, if you've watched professional wrestling for quite a while, if you're not a young cat, if you've been in the game since the early 2000s, maybe, let's call it that, you remember that Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre were a tag team, the Dashing Ones. They were tag team champions, and they looked very different, obviously, when they were rocking those tag team belts. And to fast forward to now, and for them to have what I would say is a pay-per-view level match on Raw, on the first match of Raw, speaks volumes of where they've come in their career and how, perseverance and sticking with it and just dedicating yourself to getting better. Because if you go back and look at Drew McIntyre back then to now, he's damn near unrecognizable. He's packed on maybe 152,000 pounds of muscle, and he grew that beard. And the man, he knew what the people wanted, and he got it. He's out there killing it. Cody Rhodes, same thing. He's the biggest babyface in professional wrestling. He wears his heart on his sleeve. He dyed his hair and somehow became everyone's favorite guy. And now they're basically having like a match, because I think Cody is not booked for Elimination Chamber. I think he's doing the Grayson Waller effect with Seth Rollins, which is a strange thing to have on a pay-per-view. But because he's not wrestling, they put this match together with Drew. And it was great. It was a banger. It ended in typical Raw fashion. You can't, have people get pinned for some reason in any clean way. So someone has to interrupt, especially for, one of your top baby faces and one of your top heels. Let's just call Drew McIntyre what he is. He's a heel now. I love it. He's great. I hope he wins. I hope he wins everything. So they had a great match. Bloodline interrupted. We had a little segment with Seth basically consoling Cody and saying, hey, man, you're going to need the backup. And then we bookended Raw with Jey Uso taking on Gunther for the IC title. Again, Bloodline comes in. Most notably, Jimmy Uso comes in, costs Jey the title. Again, I'm all for their eventual WrestleMania match. This is all that they're working towards, and I'm here for it. I want them to have their spotlight. I guarantee you when they're done with their match, whoever wins, they're both going to cry. It's going to be emotional. It's their dream. It's going to be the Usos are going to fulfill the one dream they had from being little kids wrestling in their house. They're going to have a main event match, not a main event match. They're going to have a match at WrestleMania against one another. It's going to be great, and I'm here for it. But because I am a wrestling fan, and maybe not as fanatic as most, but I do have the wrestling fan gene, meaning I have to throw a little water on that flame. I still don't understand why Jimmy is against Jey. Does anyone? If you rewind the clock, if you listen back to any episode I've done about this topic, I am very adamant about Jimmy's heel turn. I don't get it. I don't understand the motivation. Now, it's been enough time. Jimmy has settled into his goofy, enforcer role. But him being against Jey makes no sense for the story that they told 9 months ago or something like that, where he stopped Jey from winning the tribal chief match with Roman because he said he didn't want Jey to become like Roman, and he did it for his brother. I did it for The Rock. Man, Rikishi really nailed it with that promo. We didn't know it back then, but it's all come back around, and now it's just perfect for everything that's going on. I don't understand Jimmy's motivation for not liking his brother. Everything he did, at least story-wise, was for his brother. Didn't want him to be corrupted, whatnot. And basically, Jay said, I'm done with this whole bloodline business. I don't want anything to do with everybody. I quit. I'm leaving. And he left. And then Jimmy was on an island by himself. Now, Jimmy is 100% against his brother in that he doesn't want him to win anything. And I guess you can chalk it up to being back in the bloodline, quote unquote, or drinking the Kool. I don't know what it is. But I keep stepping back to that promo he did with Roman. He said, I didn't do it for you. I didn't do it for the bloodline. I did it for Jimmy. Or I did it for Jay. So, again, they have not closed that loop. That is a huge plot point for me. It's a big plot hole in the series. If anyone knows what fills that plot hole, please let me know in the comments, because, again, I'm still super lost. That being said, I am 100% on board for their WrestleMania match. I think it's going to be incredible. I love the Usos. I think if you want to talk about looking at the past to now, like I did with Cody and Drew, the Usos have come a super long way. And if you hear, they did an episode of the New Day podcast where they kind of talk about what it was like backstage when they first started. And essentially, they were on hiatus for like a year. They didn't wrestle at all when they first started. And they thought, man, we're probably done. You know, we had a couple matches. They don't seem to want to use us. You know, maybe we'll, go back to the Indies or something. And they just ended up getting used again and took off. And it was one of those things where they were saddled with that kind of face paint gimmick. And once they got to drop that and did the Uso Penitentiary and got to be more themselves, like most wrestlers, when they kind of weather the storm of whatever bad whatever bad gimmick they are saddled with, like Butch, for instance, and they get to, spread their wings and be the gimmick that they want, or kind of be the character that they want, and they shine. The Usos weathered that storm, got to the Uso Penitentiary part, got to the Bloodline part. Like, they've become iconic professional wrestlers. They've become an iconic tag team. The longest reigning tag team of all time now, or something like that. I think that's the stat. So good on them. They've come a long way. Again, I'm here for their match. I'm here for Drew McIntyre winning the title from Seth at WrestleMania. I'm here for Cody losing or winning at WrestleMania. I think a lot of people are going to be really mad if he loses at WrestleMania. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I like Roman as a final boss. I know people say he's kind of getting a little long in the tooth, and maybe so. I don't know. Cody wins, great. If he loses, fine. But I think they're building towards an interesting culmination where The Rock is or isn't showing signs that he's going to turn on Roman. Who knows? But I think they fumbled the ball a little bit on that SmackDown where Rhodes gave his title away to The Rock. But now they've picked it up and they're having a bit more fun. I think they found their road in The Rock and Cody working together to kind of take everything away from Roman. That's an interesting angle. And if they follow that towards its non-logical conclusion where The Rock maybe turns on Roman, or there's some sort of like big brouhaha on the outside of the ring while Cody's wrestling Roman and Cody's people come out on top, I don't know. And one of Cody's people is The Rock, who knows? But it should be an interesting WrestleMania. This was a very rambling episode. I am extremely tired, but I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments what you think. Please subscribe to the podcast. Tell a friend about the show. Don't you ever forget.
I'm your friend, but if I ever see you in the ring, I can beat you. Don't you know? Yeah.